The king has a large problem. The hero that was summoned thinks slavery is a bad thing, and women should have rights. The crowd outside the castle was roaring louder than anything King Aloysius, third of his name, ruler of the mighty land, appointed by the divine nature, had ever heard. The racket scrapped his ears. Shouts, cheers, and yelps drowned out the birds on what should have been a pleasant spring morning. Aloysius licked his lips and scratched his beard. He paced around his quarters and reached the window once more. Though his adviser had warned him against it, he couldn't resist taking a glance out the window, down to the city below. The walls of the citadel kept them at bay, but the peasants gathered around the walls of the had started to gain mass. Under the bright blue sky, the city slouched. Roofs caved in, walls of buildings were held up with extra planks, and the north end of town had still not been repaired after the fire last summer. Instead of its usual muted quality, the city felt alive. People crowded the roads in all directions, and the crowd came to a head at the castle's gate, which was drawn shut. With divine blessing, it would hold shut. All this for one man? Aloysius asked his adviser. Elias nodded gravely. I'm afraid so, Your Majesty. Aloysius swore. And his party? Locked in the dungeons, all in separate cells, Elias confirmed. It was a small comfort, but at least they couldn't be as much of a problem for now. Aloysius took another lap around his quarters and rubbed his forehead, which seemed to have taken on a thin sheen of sweat despite the fact the weather was mild. It was absurd, truly. None of it made sense. It had started last summer after the dragon's fire swept through the town. The flames scorched a little too close to the castle's keep for his liking, so he'd offered a handsome sum for anyone who could put a stop to the beast's destruction. It was hardly his fault the petulant peasant boy took it upon himself to make a